What's up, everybody? We're on a podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to review Dispatch episodes 3 and 4. Just got done playing them maybe about 2-3 minutes ago from when I'm recording this, and honestly, I loved it. I think it was a very different kind of pacing for these episodes than episodes 1 and 2. So I just want to go over my thoughts, and we'll stay away from spoilers, and we'll try to stick maybe more with like generalities. Honestly, again, these two episodes were actually kind of doubling down on the Dispatch actual feel of the game and the Dispatch gameplay. And so we're probably going to actually be talking a lot about that. I do think over these next four, right, the final four episodes, I wonder if the pacing kind of continues to jump around because just, again, the first two episodes had a lot more like outside the computer stuff. And I had talked about like the computer stuff kind of rocks. And I think they honestly blended both of those things together quite well in episodes 3 and 4. So spoiler-free kind of synopsis. Really, the first episode, episode 3, is all about having to cut somebody, right? Somebody is going to be at the bottom of the leaderboards. And I think I can say without spoiling. So Invisigirl, she is the one that's kind of, failing. And she also is just very kind of disconnected. So it's building her character, it's building the team, it's building, you as Robert and her together, and then it gives you an excuse to do a lot of dispatching and a lot of calls. And so, honestly, for me, I found it to be way more challenging, this second time around. I think it's a great concept, and what makes it great, I think, is how simple it is while also being complex, right? You're simply going around and clicking and assigning people, but obviously you have to pick the right people, and timing is a big part of it. And I was even trying to kind of like game the system. I would wait till the very last second to accept one of these calls because I would see, okay, I had a couple of my heroes that were resting. I'm going to give it just that split second so I get two more heroes available. That way, I can kind of play around with it, right? It's a lot of, okay, just trying to figure out what these people are good at and matching it to the job. You had kind of the extra layer where there was a lot of hero training this time around where they could train with Blonde Blazer and they would be able to unlock kind of an ability. And I think I've gotten it where most of them have their abilities unlocked, if not maybe all of them, right? So everybody's kind of special and can kind of help each other. And so it was just, it's chaotic. It's a lot of fun. I would like to call it a mini game, but to be honest with you, of the hour and 50 minutes. And by the way, I do think these two episodes are slightly longer than episodes 1 and 2, but I would say around half, slightly more than half, felt like we were in the computer just playing the hacking game, which also got a little bit more complicated and some I did better than others at. My memorization skills are pretty okay, but sometimes I just had no idea what I was doing. And then the dispatch calls. So I really like that. I said before, in last week's review, I wouldn't mind like just a separate mode dedicated entirely to it. I will say this, though, to be a little, is it all just positive? There actually were some times I feel like the calls went on a little too long. Like, I get it, and I was leveling up these heroes. A lot of them are level 4, 5, 6 kind of on my team, so I feel good about where we're at and kind of building them out, in the diagram, like trying to, I try to go where like each of them is good at maybe two different things, and they're extremely good at two different things. So I really liked it, and again, I would say it's maybe 50 to 60% of these two episodes, so I felt we should talk about it. And then the other 40, 50%, were kind of, I would say, consequences and actions. And what I'm really happy with, okay, the final episode, or episode 4, ends with a final choice that I won't get too much into in this video, but what I want to do is probably make a separate video. Maybe we'll do one on the weekend. I think the game does lead you, okay? I will say that. And maybe why that's important is the game also, I think, has a strong feel of what you do does matter. Now, in terms of who you cut, I'm pretty sure it's one of two people no matter what. But those two people, you obviously get to choose 50-50. So I think my stats showed that maybe like 45% chose the person that I chose and 55% chose the other person. The final choice, I think it was more like 70-30. The thing that I picked got 70%. The other option got 30%. So, and I would say the first one, and really episode 3 in general, had a bigger weight to it where you felt like your choices really did have consequences. And I do like the balance because I like that, it's a lot of small conversations. It's a lot of kind of just building up these relationships between each other. Really, I mean, let's be honest. It's a lot of building up relationships with you and the two girls. And that's where this is all leading, right? But these two episodes, I think, gave both of them like plenty of room to breathe. And what I'll say is actually like having, done with the episode, it actually makes me think, oh man, I wish I had more time to spend with these characters like together. And I will say, I mean, yeah, it's like 5-10 minutes after I just played it, so maybe like a recency bias. But when I have that feeling, that shows to me that the game has worked. When I can't stop thinking about it, or when I just want more. I want more times that these characters are kind of locked in a room where their chemistry is just able to shine. Remember when like Laura Bailey and Aaron Paul went up? I think was it the Game Awards or it was something, Jeff Keighley's show, and you could tell like there was just so much chemistry between the two. I know Laura Bailey's married. I don't know about Aaron Paul, but you could sense the chemistry. You can sense it in the game too. I mean, there is honestly some amazing chemistry. Really, Aaron Paul just gives off that vibe where he can really gel with anybody. And the voice casting, I think, continues to be really, really good. I think some kind of lag. I don't know if I really want to say specifically who. There is one person I will say in my head that I feel is kind of lagging behind in terms of like their talent in voice acting. There's one individual I think lags behind the rest of them, but generally it's such a strong cast, and they all do their part. You can tell who the main characters are, but you also know that this is like, it's building up like this group of rejects, and honestly kind of making them more of like a formidable foe. And by the end of episode 4, as they're pretty powerful, like I'm feeling good as a dispatcher. They should be feeling good, as the people that are actually going out and doing these things. So I'm just having a blast. I think, these episodes, I think, didn't have as much personality and charm, I will say that, but I think it's a balance. It's a marathon, not a sprint, is probably the correct phrase, right? Like, the game's got a lot left, and it had a really, really fast start. It had a very character-driven start, and what I think these last 2 episodes did, like today as they release, it focused probably more on the gameplay, more on these kind of mini-game things that really, at times like this, is half the game. I do think it put the other stuff back a little bit, whereas the first 2 episodes were just very heavy on charisma and charm and getting to know these characters. There was definitely some of that, like I said, but it was mainly focused on like the love triangle that's going on there. And so anybody that wasn't part of it, maybe like 1 or 2 others kind of like gets an opportunity here and there, but generally it was you, Robert, and then the 2 girls. And I mean, and those are the 3 best characters, okay, to be honest with you. I think they are honestly extremely good. I'm very happy I'm playing this game because I do my Game of the Year awards at the end of the year where I do best characters, and I feel like, oh man, this year has been stacked with amazing, not just amazing games, but honestly tremendously amazing characters. And you might be able to add 2 to 3, like maybe even those 3 right there, you might be able to add them as some of the better game characters of the year. We'll see. You still got 4 episodes. I think it's going to go more on character driven and choices and consequences and kind of bigger scale beyond just dispatching. That's kind of where I think these last 4 are going to go. But I had a blast. I think this was a very good complement to episodes 1 and 2. Would I say they're better than them? I think I really like the final choice. I think that, and I've actually watched both options. I really like what they're doing. I kind of like how they're leading you. And again, we'll talk about that in a different video. But I think it, when it needed to get impactful, when it kind of needed to get real, like even your talk with I think the Z team is what they call them, even your kind of pep talk to them, like, yeah, you can take it in different ways. I tried the more like serious route. I think I told them about like, I know all of you have pain. That's the thing that links us all together. And then I talked about phoenixes, and that was kind of literal, like rising from the ashes, redemption. So I kind of took that speech a little bit more seriously because I kind of feel in that moment that's what he would do, right? So I tried to play those moments a little bit more seriously. The game absolutely has charm and comedy and stuff when it needs to, and you can play actually a lot of conversations off like that. But when I kind of get the opportunity like that, I want to go a little bit more serious. So an absolute blast, a really just rock solid episode or 2 episodes. I don't think they're as strong as the first 2, but it's rounding out to be an incredible game, and this is kind of what you needed because you had to kind of put the focus more on the gameplay at some point, and I feel like we've done that, and I don't know if we're going to do that in episodes 5 and 6, and the game didn't like fall off a cliff, right? Like when putting it more on gameplay didn't sacrifice the overall game. We're still sitting on an incredibly good game that I literally cannot wait. I can't believe we have to wait 6.5 more days until the next 2 episodes. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I do want to do a video on a certain topic on the weekend, so we'll do that then. Let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.